And we're back, Fashion Dolls. I apologize about that. I had to make sure that my volume was up and we went off. But we're back now. We're back. So I'm going to send this live back to Andre. My apologies again. We're going to continue on with this conversation, this engaging conversation, and we're going to get right into it, all right? So I'm going to add Andre back. Let me send him back. Please forgive me for that. These past few days.
There we go.
And we're talking about banned books.
Yes, as I was saying, so it's just ridiculous on the part of these politicians that are out there trying to pretend that racism never existed. They're trying to literally, sensitize literature simply for the purpose of what? So some kid doesn't feel offended or feel uncomfortable. Listen,
Right.
I grew up at a time where you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have laptops to bring in class, and we had to read these books. We had to read Robinson Crusoe. We had to read, stories about slavery in this country. It's a reality. It existed. And to try to pretend that these things don't exist is offensive in itself. And I'll even tie it back into movies. So you have the infamous Birth of a Nation, one of the first studio blockbusters ever produced at the start of the country. And literally, this is a film that portrayed the KKK as the heroes and white people in blackface as the villains who are out doing horrible things. And literally, for years, they've been trying to actually not only ban this movie, but pretend like it never existed. No, we need the receipts. We need to show how far we've come to get to this point. So, what are we teaching these kids if you don't expose them to the realities of our history and what made us what we are today?
It's so sad that they are trying to erase our history as if it didn't happen. And when I look at, you guys know where I'm going with this. Nikki Haley, she's from my state down here. I'm in the Carolinas again, from South Carolina, for those who were wondering. Um, I watched that interview on The Breakfast Club, and they questioned her about critical race theory. And her statement basically was just disregarding everything that has happened. They asked her about what was the Civil War, and she didn't know what that was. Yes, it was tied to slavery.
Hmm.
Yes, but you wouldn't understand that because you are a, I'm just gonna say it unapologetically, you are a white woman with privilege. So of course you would be one of the first ones to downplay as if it didn't happen. Lindsey Graham, you are another
Uh-huh.
one too.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it it baffles me and it's so funny. All right, that's the nap time. It baffles me that people would try to basically whitewash, what we like to call whitewash our history and erase it and say, no, that didn't happen. Y'all need to let it go. Y'all need to do this. No, that's 400 years of oppression. And you think that people are not willing to, they're just willing to move on and forget it as if it didn't happen? No, absolutely not. So, no, I'm going to talk about it because, for one, I'm a black woman and
Uh-huh.
I know that I'm never going to see the garments of a white woman. And two, I can face racism in any field. Being in this field, I've encountered colorism, but not really racism, but it is on the scale of white supremacy as well too. Because if you go all the way back to slavery, what were we taught? Darker slaves in the fields, lighter skin in the house.
Yep.
That's what we were taught. So yes, colorism is connected to white supremacy and racism. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. So a little history learning, because I talk a lot about colorism and racism here on my platform, as well as mental health and unpacking trauma. And for years, that trauma is going to stick with us. What our ancestors, great grandmothers, great grandfathers, and our mothers' mothers, they had to endure during slavery. They can live to tell their story. But y'all hear about them putting a water park on Lake Lanier with the history of that place. Thank you, Mr. 317, for bringing that up. That's another thing. I think is, what is it, in Mississippi or one of these states, they were trying to do a bill for reparations. And that's something that I've talked about as well, too, for people of color. Pay us for pain and our trauma and our suffering. Reparations are rightfully so due, because if you go all the way back, we had the first Black Wall Street. We invented this culture. We invented this world. Businesses would not be flourishing if it wasn't for us as Black people. We are the culture, period. So for you to try to whitewash and say, well, especially shout outs to my brother King Jobs, Demario. He calls him the Satan. I don't call him Ron DeSantos. Ron DeSatan calls him the Satan because he is. But in Florida, even if you go on in Florida, they're talking about banning certain books. They're talking about banning the queer community from using the bathroom. People are human and they have to use the bathroom. But that's a whole nother conversation. But as it pertains to racism, I'm Black first. So to erase my existence is to erase my brothers and sisters' existence because they're Black too.
Mhm.
And it is such a shame that you have these lawmakers out here, Republican lawmakers, that are overturning all of these things, a woman's rights to her body. That's a whole nother
Mm,
conversation. You have
yeah.
them overturning rules. Now I'll take it even further. And I'm pretty sure you've seen this, Andre. Don Lemon had a talk show. He was supposed to do it on X, formerly known as Twitter. Uh, Elon Musk canceled that. That show was
Mhm.
canceled. He runs Twitter. He runs X. He's in charge of that. And you don't want to talk about ethnic or diversity training. You don't want to talk about this thing. But you're going to be working with people of color because we are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. We are business owners. We run stocks. We do all of these things. We're business owners as well too. But you cannot exclude our existence. Black people were here first. We were here to stay and we built the culture. So how dare someone who is non-Black try to erase our existence in this world? And it baffles me that you have our people that look like us, that are on the other side. If you get where I'm going, because I don't really dig into politics.
Mhm.
Back in my, I want to say season 16, season 17, I would go in and I would read Trump, everybody, they will get it. But listen, it baffles me that we have people that look like us that have Black skin that are supporting this man and his rhetoric when he literally took out a 5-page spread on 5 Black men who were
Yep.
unarmed, who were falsely accused of doing something. And his father was sitting in clans meeting. Did y'all know that? Y'all didn't know that, did y'all? His father. Yeah. So this is where his he says I'm the least racist person in this country. Says all of these things. But these are the people who were in charge in the government. And now he's in the courts. So I've been seeing what's going on. I've been keeping tabs on it. Keeping alive, turning away, looking. So I mean, how can we not? It's going to be a circus these next few couple of weeks as it pertains politically to what is going to go on in our country. So everybody, and I've said this with my co-host Manny on the other platforms at Tech, prepare yourself and brace yourselves for what's about to come these next few couple of weeks as it pertains to this trial with him, because his trial began sometime this week. And it's going to be a whole lot more revelations and things. This is Age of Aquarius.
Mhm.
And I hate to bring zodiac signs into it, but this is Age of Accountability. So a lot of stuff that we're seeing come out in the news about this former president, there's some truth to it. And I have victims speaking out and saying, hey, this happened to me too. This is Age of Accountability, y'all. So wake up. And as far as them banning books, Ruby Bridges sat down and she was on Stephen Colbert, and she says this is one of the banned books. She wrote a book, and I didn't know the book was banned. I'm like, wait, why are they banning books that are teaching children about love and acceptance as it pertains to racism? That's what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
fought his last breath for on this earth, so that people could be equal and treated equally. Queer people, straight people, Black people, as a collective, mainly Black people, because we are the most oppressed and the most marginalized in this country. So, yes, I'm able to get in some of these spaces. But at the end of the day, I realized that I'm a Black woman, and I would never see the success of a Nicole Kidman. I would never see the success of a Reese Witherspoon. I would never see the success of a Chelsea Handler. And we want to know why? Because racism, misogynoir. Misogynoir is racism and sexism against black women. And
Hmm.
I've experienced it. Let me read some of you guys' comments. What's crazy is they give Chinese people the rights who yet went to war and still going to war, but black people don't have any rights in this country. Yes. And we've I can give you a list of people who fought for black liberation. James Baldwin is one.
Yes.
Audre Lorde, Angela Davis, um, Eldridge Cleaver. Uh, it's so many. Fannie Lou Hamer. It's so many that we can be out here doing our research on. And someone said this. People say it all the time. Black History Month shouldn't just be 1 month. It should be every month for us.
Absolutely.
Every month. Because black people, we have contributed to the culture, whether it's fashion, whether it's entertainment, television, whether it is music. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the whole when Beyonce dropped her second album, a lot of white country artists and white radio stations
Yeah.
were not willing to play her music because they didn't consider her as a country artist. She's an artist, period. And
Hmm.
Smokey Robinson said the same thing, that she can do whatever music she wants to do. If she wants to do country, she can do country. If she wants to do classical, she can do classical. Let's be real. Rosetta Tharpe was the first black woman country singer. And
Hmm.
there's plenty of them out here. When she came out with this project, we see how can I say it, an emergence of all of these black country artists coming out and saying, hey, I'm here too. Country music has been here. We created this. Rhythm and blues, we created this.
Hmm.
Jazz, we created this. Hip hop, we created this. So, yes, what Beyonce is experiencing right now is racism. She performed at the CMT Awards and she called them out on this album. I said, yes, coming. I can guarantee you. And then she did the performance with the Dixie Chicks. And I already know the CMT Awards, they don't have people that look like us on
Right.
there. But she was the first to break that mold, to do it. To have an international, she's been out for a long time. Beyonce's been doing it since 1997. And to have someone as iconic and pivotal in the music world as her perform at the CMT Awards, groundbreaking. But I can only imagine the racism that she experienced
Hmm.
because country music in their eyes is white only. But if you go all the way back, there are black country singers. There's so many. So the only thing that they teach us in the school as far as history goes, because it's all about learning and educating ourselves too, is we learn about who? Y'all know I'm a hair care and a makeup girl. Madam C.J. Walker. They teach us about Malcolm X. They teach us about Martin Luther King. They teach us about, of course, Oprah. There's so many black historical figures out here. Chuck Berry was country rock and roll.
That's right.
Exactly. And they're just now giving him his flowers. Exactly. And it's sad that when a black artist passes on, now you just want to recognize the work.
Yeah.
You want to recognize the craftsmanship. And when you are a truth teller, I've noticed that I've lost some followers. I'm not fazed by it at all because I've just been in a day and age where it's just like if you see something that involves your people, speak out on it. Because I'm not
100%.
going to be the one to sell out. And I've seen people go on these platforms and stump for Trump like this man is good. And yes, he put out a pair of those hideous, ugly sneakers I would not be caught dating.
Get
I'm not
shot in
a
the street with that.
sneakers person. Yes. It's smoke and mirrors, you guys. Y'all guys see what they're doing? He's just like, yes, I can get the black vote. Come on over and vote for me. Come on over, tap dance, shuck and jive a little bit, and buy my sneakers, which were the most hideous sneakers I've ever seen. I would not be caught dead wearing them. I'm a red bottoms girl, and I like Giuseppe's as well too. But that's a whole nother conversation. That's fashion. But that's you see what they're doing. These politicians are doing is the Republicans. It's smoke and mirrors. He's not racist. Come on over and join our
Yeah.
party. Buy his sneakers. He's a good person. But what you fail to realize is that the same laws that are oppressing other black people will be oppressing you as well too, because you're black also. You
Hmm.
just have a different political view than mine, but you're black also. So I would never sell out my people. I love us for real. I love black people. I love us. I love being a black woman. But it baffles me to see people out here stumping for this man when he is the face of racism at a time when the country was in unrest, when an unarmed black man, Mike Brown, lost his life.
Yeah,
And Tony McDade, who was a trans black man, lost his life. At a time when this unrest, he said there were very fine people on both sides.
which
So,
really like lit the fire under me when I
yeah.
saw that.
And that gave them the green light to go and do what they did in furtherance.
Yeah.
And this election coming up, you guys, please take this serious. I've had my reservations about not voting. I'm seeing a lot of celebrities come out and say, I'm not voting. It's the lesser of two evils. It's either Biden or Trump. Pick your poison.
I feel like, I understand politics can get very divisive and
Yeah.
people tend to go into their corners or feel like, well, nobody ever really thinks of me or does anything for me, so why should I bother? Well, you saw what happened in 2016 when we played the whole, the lesser of two evils game. We got this guy, and now women's rights are being reversed. You know, racism is definitely on the rise, unfortunately, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
many other things that are turning us back, not going forward. So to sit back and not get involved in the process is only going to make things worse for us in the long term. And even if you don't feel like, he was in office once and, we were fine, economy was actually pretty decent. Well, he's going to put C-list level people around that are going to make sure that he gets what he wants. And we're not going to have a democracy. This is not about, oh, well, Biden doesn't do shit for me. Okay, you don't have to be a fan of the guy, but right now, if you go with the other guy who's got 90 something convictions waiting for him and he gets back in office, you just wait. It's not going
Oh,
to
and
be,
he's already,
yeah,
another thing, Andre, he's already gearing up his base. He said his base is going to raise hell.
yeah.
He's already gearing up his base. His base is dangerous. And me and 317, we know a certain individual who's also dangerous that gears up his base too, who's running for committee man. I'm not even going to get into that. That's a whole bunch of foolishness. But Trump is doing the same thing. Joe Biden, you're not black if you don't vote for me. It's really sad how they use races and have a backbone in politics to get their votes. Right. And what happened during the 2020 election, that to me, I can't remember where I was, but that was unreal.
Hmm.
And I think I was doing a show. It was Saturday because I used to do Saturday shows with my co-host. And I cannot remember what day it happened, but I know it happened in 2020 when they got into the Capitol.
Oh,
That
January
was
6th.
unreal, unprecedented, and it's never, well, if you go back to like the 1700s, something like that happened before. It's never happened. It should have been a peaceful transition, but that did not happen.
I mean,
I
listen,
was
when
shocked.
when Bush was reelected for the second term, I was depressed. I was upset, but we all moved on. We said, okay, another 4 years, we're going to get a Democrat in, and we got Barack Obama. In this
Yeah.
case, okay, when Trump got elected in 2016, I was scared, I was depressed, and it's like, well, I'm not going to let this guy ruin my dreams. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to wait till 4 years to vote him out, which is exactly what I did. And in this case, these supporters of his, this cult, as I'd like to believe they
It
are,
sure is.
they absolutely just lost it, and he encouraged them to commit violence. You could spin it any way you want. He called them there. He wanted to get back into power, and because he couldn't do it at any other means, whether it's bribing the electors or trying to, use legal challenges that were unsuccessful, this was the nuclear option for him. It didn't succeed, but he's going to try to do it again if he doesn't get his way.
And that is very dangerous, very scary, and very telling. So something needs to done. We need to continue needs to be done. We need to continue to use our voices and resources. And I had to speak on it today. So I'm glad that you touched on that, Andre, about racism within the school system because it does happen. They don't want black children to excel and do well. And the thing that's stopping them is their hair, their looks. Just
Hmm.
my hair should not define my education and my talent. My hair is just a part of me. It's just a part of my aesthetic. It tells a story. But it should not define my intelligence. It should not define me walking across that stage, making my parents proud. That shouldn't stop someone from graduating. Think how they did with the riot a few years ago, and they already had things set up. We was doing peaceful protests, yes, and they
Hmm.
came and antagonized those protesters out there. They sure did. Came out there and antagonized them. And it took me all the way back to Selma, Montgomery. 50 years. Took me all the way back looking at those images. I wasn't born yet, but looking at those images, looking at that imagery, it's so uncanny and unreal you can't see it. If you look at it then, Civil Rights Movement, Montgomery Bus Board Count, Selma, Alabama, and them walking and battling with the other side. Literally to say, hey, we're here too. We deserve equal rights because we are people too. But they don't want black people to excel. They don't want us to excel. They don't want us to have rights. Especially women. They done took away our rights to our bodies, queer people too.
Yeah,
So I mean, they took away everyone's right to their bodies. They're doing it, and to me, it's like tit for tat. It's being petty because their guy is not in the White House. And even if he was there, they still would have did it
of
anyway.
course.
So they're trying to overturn, appeal, do all of these things. But you have people like Jasmine. Her name is Jasmine. You have people like her. You have people like AOC. You have people like that who are fighting back for people of color. You have people who are pushing back, and it's a resistance. And in order to have, how can I say it? In order to have liberation, there needs to be some
Of
resistance. There needs
course.
to be a pushback. So I try not. I'm radical, but I try not to be. I try to hold back. Today I'm holding back because I could have really went there, and y'all would be like, "Whoa, she is like your modern day Angela Davis," and I am because when I say that I fight for Black people, I've been doing this for a long time. I just don't really talk about it in my interviews. I like the interviews to be fun. I like you guys to have an escape, but hey, sometimes you have to take a moment and take a look in the real world at what's going on. And racism is going to affect Black people. It's going to affect us. Yeah, I mean, I haven't encountered it yet. I've encountered misogyny. I've encountered misogyny. Um, but racism, I know my time is coming. And it's not going to be a pretty time, but I know it's coming. And the thing is, call someone out on it. Again, age of accountability. Black people
Hmm.
are fighting back, resisting. And this is the new age of liberation, Gen Z, Gen X. This generation that is coming up are being outspoken. And now
Yes,
with that we have technology where we can actually catch it in real time and people are being held accountable. Y'all know where I'm going with this, the Karens. If you know, you know. Yes, you got caught, you got popped. And then you want to look crazy like, no, I didn't do this. I didn't do this. You got caught. We're now in a day and age of technology. So what you say and what you do, it can be caught on camera. I'm so thankful for this generation that is coming up. I keep saying this generation like I've been here a long time. I'm only 30 years old. But listen, this generation, Gen Z, Gen X, and especially on TikTok, they
hmm,
are calling people out on their blatant, outright racism. And that is real.
that's the wonderful
And rightfully
thing
so.
right now. Yeah. We're seeing a time now where, I mean, it's not just, well, Trump getting elected that got everybody in an uproar, but it's a lot of things that this generation coming up now sees as this is wrong and we have to enact something, whether it's with gun rights, whether it's with rights for LGBTQ community, black people's rights. We are really beginning to, they want to say it's a woke thing. No, this is, as you
That's
said,
another thing he said. It's woke. They
yeah.
try to ban that. They ban that too.
It's about accountability, as you mentioned. It is about trying to change the status quo in a country that is seeing its demographics change. And to quote a movie like Captain America and Winter Soldier, you have a moment where Robert Redford still sticks with me today when he says, to build a better world, you got to tear the old one down, and that makes enemies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so the next generation coming up, I would tell them, be the change you want to see. Continue to keep your foot on their necks and hold them accountable. It's time to call people out on their blatant racism.
Hmm.
And I know I would be the first to. I don't care how many endorsements or opportunities I lose. If it's me fighting for the sake of myself, being black, and other black people, I'm going to call you out to the front.
Again,
And
that's
right,
why, yeah. No, I was going to say, like that, that's one of the reasons I did my film was because I spoke out about my story on Facebook when George Floyd was murdered and the protests were going on. And somebody that I thought was a close friend of mine DMs me on Facebook and saying, "Oh, that's fake unity. That's not true," and blah, blah, blah. Like, how am I supposed to feel like I got to keep this in and not let it combust? Okay, I got to be public with what I went through because I'm thankful for what I have in my career, in my life, my family, and my friends. But Jesus Christ, I'm also African American too, and I've experienced the same, SHIT.
racial profiling. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been profiled, I've been stopped, I've been assumed for things that, whether it's something I didn't do or things that they think I'm interested in, but I'm not. And so I'm very much no different from anybody else. And even when you do reach a certain level of success, and we've seen this with a number of celebrities of color, one wrong thing can mess you entirely up publicly, and they don't forgive you as easily as they forgive a white celebrity. So that's why it's one of those things where, yeah, you got to speak out. You got to call these things out because it's important. You got to progress this culture, and you can't do it by sitting alone and keeping it to yourself and acting like everything is all fine and dandy when it isn't. Things, we still have a ways to go, even with all the progress that we've made.
absolutely. And I love what 317 just said. Before we can make the other side respect us, we have
Yes.
to learn to work together as black people. Yes, and it's a whole lot of division between us. It's a whole lot of division. And I can tell you why. You have some people within the black community who want to push the white man out of that seat and be in that seat. You cannot, and I said this all the time, and I told my colleague, my good friend, Bubs the God, um, and I said this on his panel. I said exactly this. You cannot be oppressed and oppress other groups of
Right.
people. It doesn't work that way. Everybody deserves to be treated equally. That includes queer people, the queer community. That includes the black collective as a whole. The black collective as a whole. We're all marginalized. So you cannot oppress other people. It doesn't work that way. So no, you even if you get in that seat that white man was in, you're still going to experience racism. Either way you look at it, it goes back to what Andre just said. And no matter what position that you are in, you can be famous, not famous. It's a tennis. Is it a tennis player? Uh, yes, James Blake
Okay.
went to what was it, the airport, and you guys remember the story. Was racially profiled.
Mhm.
They thought that he fit the description of a suspect that they were looking for. Case of mistaken identity. So even for me, not just for black men but black women too. It's the same thing too. Oh, she's aggressive. She's angry. That's what we get labeled with black men. They look at black men as a threat
Yep.
because of their size, because of their stature. Whereas I mean, either way, you're going to experience racism. For me, it's sexism
Hmm.
because I'm a curvaceous woman, 5'7", and they think sex. Black women are sometimes fetishized, and that is true in this industry and in this business. So we definitely have a lot to work on. And it begins with unpacking that trauma that we've experienced 400 years. 400 years of trauma.
Mhm.
And it goes all the way back, again, like I said, to our ancestors, our great grandmothers, our great grandfathers. They've been there. They survived this. They know this. And they can live to tell you that story of what they endured. And there's so many films out here that touch on it, from 12 Years a Slave. We've seen that was horrible.
Oh
That was
yeah,
horrible.
that's
Birth of a Nation, as Andre mentioned in the beginning of our interview before we got cut off. Uh, there's so many films out here that can educate you and teach you
yeah.
about racism, what we've endured in this country. I like to watch a lot of documentaries. Um, and I just recently watched one on PBS about Zora Neale Hurston.
Okay, yes.
And she was the first Black woman to attend an all-white female college. So she said, you know what? I'm gonna make myself fit in here, because she was that good of a writer. So it goes to show you the obstacles that we have to climb over to get where we're at in our life and be successful. People like Candace. Oh, hold on. Damn, I ain't got no water right here. See, when you said that name, I was about to take a sip of water. Okay, y'all want me to be transparent this season, right? I'm gonna be honest. Okay, I seen the Breakfast Club interview because I know you guys were gonna ask me. I'm just gonna say it. All skin folk, damn sure ain't kinfolk. They're not, and she is not a good representation for Black people. People like Candace Owens, they love how she set the race down. But then what they did with the Breakfast Club interview, you see that, right? She's more lighter, where she would typically be going and spitting venom on the Black collective, right? See how she remodeled herself? Because she wasn't really a conservative. She wasn't really a conservative. She was on the other side. She was a Democrat.
Yeah.
And something happened and she shifted to go to the other party. So that's what I was reading somewhere. But you see how she remodeled herself, she re-imaged herself to try to be like, hey, this party isn't so bad. That party is full of racism.
Hmm.
From what I've seen ever since this man has been elected in the White House, it is the party of racism.
Yep.
And I can go down a long list. For my state, Lindsey Graham, Tommy Tuberville, Ron
Yeah, okay, okay,
DeSantis.
yeah.
It's a lot of them. What's his name? Mitch McConnell.
Oh yeah, the devil.
Oh yeah, I had a name for him. Season 14, and I was cracking everybody up. I would call him the turtle.
The turtle. I see that.
Yeah, I would call him the turtle. But Candace Owens, and then you have people like so many Black conservatives out here. Candace Owens does not speak for Black people. She's just like, when she did the Breakfast Club interview, it was just like, okay, they're laughing and kikiing with her, and it's just like, hold her feet to the fire. Ask her the pressing questions.
Right.
These conservatives, if you go and you've watched every news outlet from CNN, you saw how they gave Trump his debate, which I thought was a horrible idea.
Hmm.
I already said, I'm not watching this garbage. I already know what he's going to do. He's going to get up there and spew some hateful garbage. So I've been stopped watching CNN. I was a little disappointed at Don Lemon to go and sit with Elon Musk, knowing how he thinks. That man is borderline racist.
Yeah, he's crazy. Rich
I
but
mean,
crazy.
the ethnic, the ethics division's training. He doesn't want to do that. He's not interested in doing that. So I wouldn't take my platform on X. I surely wouldn't. I would not. Whereas you have outlets like Roland Martin, myself, who say what Black people are thinking unapologetically. And this is not the time for me to be quiet, because before I was just like, no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. But Black people are thinking it. They're
Yeah.
just like, what's next for all of us and our children in the school system? Education, gerrymandering, all of these things that try to stop Black people from getting decent homes, making sure that that their children as well as themselves and the older people in their family. Um, if you guys watched Monique's Club Shay Shay interview with Shannon Sharp, I don't call them the Breakfast Club. I call them the Breakfast Snubs. That's what Monique. I got that term from her. She calls them the Breakfast Snubs. You had Nikki Haley on your platform, and then you have Candace Owens. And Just Hilarious doesn't have the range to have the conversation like a Keith Boykin, who I had on my platform, who's worked alongside President Obama.
Mhm.
Ask the pressing questions. What Black people want to know. And when I created Style by Stevie, when I created my platform, I said, this is why I'm not on an international network like a Fox or a Viacom, because at my own terms, I choose to speak freely and independently for Black people
Right, nobody's pulling
and
you back.
not be silenced about it or fired the next day. Because that happens in this
Mhm.
business, especially on MSNBC.
Tiffany Cross, yeah, look what happened with her, speaking the truth.
Exactly. And Joy Reid, she's still on MSNBC. I don't know how she's doing it, but she's doing it unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
And the other is Simone. She has
Yes,
her show
Simone.
too. But these Black women are speaking out unapologetically and letting you know. And they're doing it from an unbiased opinion. So we're starting to see more and more, again, that Black liberation, that pushback. But I refuse to sign a contract on their network like a CNN, like a Viacom, and be censored on just basically you're whitewashing and
Right.
censoring everything that Black people endured. I'm not going to do that because when you do, they give you a punishment for it. And Tiffany Cross faced that punishment. And
Mm-hmm.
many other Black women and Black collective, people of the Black collective who are on these news platforms, face that punishment for speaking out for Black people. And I'm not going to be one of them.
Yeah.
So I do everything independently. Style by Stevie is mine. If I don't post it, it ain't. But if I posted it, it's me. So I choose to give people the news unapologetically and a delivery where it's fun and it's not boring because people get boring and sometimes watching the news can be sad as well too. That's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
It can be depressing to you. But it's just you can't turn a blind eye to it. It's with everything's going on with this court hearing that's coming up with him that started this week. I'm just like you cannot turn a blind eye to it because now they're saying that he threw a hissy fit outside of the court. There was one instances where he walked out of the courtroom and the security or bailiffs had to chase him back and get him back in there. I'm like, what is the world coming to?
Just shows how thin-skinned he is. And I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere earlier that he fell asleep again and he farted in the courtroom.
I believe it. I believe it.
And it was audible.
And Letitia, I had a conversation with one of my good colleagues, and she said he's going to get his karma. I said, oh
Oh, it's
yeah,
coming. Yeah.
and her name is Letitia James. That's his
Mm-hmm.
karma. You got the right one. You got the right one. And she was sitting there in that courtroom. Y'all seen the video footage? She was just sitting there like this, and she gave him when a Black woman does this with her eyes, because my mama used to give me that same look all the time. You know something up. You know something wrong. And Letitia gave him that look, like, yeah, you going down. I'm here.
And I'm going to say right now, too, Letitia James, Fonnie Willis in Georgia, and Judge Chutkan in D.C., when they get through this whole thing with the immunity hearing in the Supreme Court, Black women are going to be the ones that hold him accountable at the end of the day. That's what I predict.
Absolutely. And we're seeing, Fonnie Willis said, I'm not on trial here. Y'all need to be worrying
Mm-hmm.
about this man and why he tried to stop an election being certified
Yes.
and why he caused an insurrection. Those were her exact words, and she was 100% right.
Uh-huh. That was
Forget
straight fire,
who
too.
I'm sleeping with or who I'm dating or why I'm sleeping with them. That should be y'all's focus right now. And you got to give, even though she's a conservative, you got to give props to Stormy Daniels for coming out and saying, "Hey, this
Mm-hmm.
is what happened." They That's the thing about politicians. Whenever they get caught with adult film workers or whatever, they try to hide it.
Yeah.
No, it didn't happen. I don't know what she's talking about. She's delusional. No, this happened. So that's what's happening. And then his press conference, his press briefing that he had, that yesterday was a mess. I've seen clips of it. So I just like, oh boy, his mouth is moving. He's lying.
I think he just has dementia at this point.
And what's so crazy is his sister. When his niece Mary Trump wrote the book, his
Hmm.
sister, her mom, his sister, she spoke out about it. And she was just like how he got into these colleges, universities, and things. She was revealing a lot. The audio came out and it was revealed. So it's going to be interesting these next few couple of weeks of what's going on because they will try to control you and your image and steal your brand because they are giving you a check. Yeah, they got that power. They got you.
Hmm.
Look what they did to Kanye. He spoke his truth. He was labeled crazy. Now, that's a whole different
Yeah,
ball
that's a different
image
story.
because Kanye just took it and phew, you sitting, oh, I love this guy, but this guy's the same one signing all of these rights that can affect, it won't affect Kanye because he's rich. Kanye is rich. The everyday American people are just fighting to get by
Yeah.
day in and day out. But when he sat up there and came in that White House with his hat on, I, I I'm at a loss for words right now. And then a black woman challenged you at your concert. You came down here to South Carolina. A black woman called you out and asked you questions if you're running for presidency, and you snapped on her. People want to know these things, and I will make it my business until I take my last breath on the day of this earth here to make sure that black people know the truth of how they try to get you.
Yep.
You called Trump daddy and was hugging him. And Steve Harvey, you not off the hook either too. You went to that Trump Towers and you
I
shook
remember
hands
that.
with that man and
Yep.
got caught leaving. And your wife Marjorie, she called your ass to the table, and rightfully so. Um, as far as Kanye, and then the Paris Fashion Week incident happened. And a Vogue writer, who's a black woman, I think her name is Gabriella, she said, "What is this? Why you came out with the White Lives Matter
Right.
tees, and you and Candace Owens were side by side rocking." Again, these people have our skin. They look like us, but they are the mouthpiece for white supremacy.
Yep.
So they're paid to tap dance. And Jim Brown, I've been watching his movies because I've been going back into the '70s black exploitation era. I love Pam Grier.
Hmm.
I love Foxy Brown. I love Coffee, Friday Foster, all of these movies. Um, and I seen with Three the Hard Way with, I think it was him, Jim Kelly, Richard Roundtree. It
For
was an
Williamson. Yeah.
ensemble cast.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, when I seen him sitting in there in that White House, I'm like, all I could do was shake my head. My father was a big Jim Brown fan too because he liked Fred Williamson. He liked Jim Brown.
Right. Right.
You know, the '70s black exploitation era was everything. But to see him sit in that White House, just sitting there, and then you got Kanye hugging. I love this guy. I'm like, what is this? And a lot of black people were scratching their head, like, what are you doing? You do know that this man did all of these things to black people in the past. He said he would prefer a man with yarmulke, a man wearing yarmulke to count his money than a black man. Those were
Mm-hmm.
his words. Everything that I'm saying here has been fact checked. It's been documented. It's true.
And
So
he's calling Haiti shithole countries. I mean, we're supposed to
Africa too,
ignore that?
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Said that there were very fine people on both sides, and it baffles me that he's able to get away and just basically play in our faces with the courts. So it makes me believe, and he said this: I can unalive someone on Fifth Avenue, and I can get away with it.
Hmm.
Those were his words. So I've never stopped speaking up for Black people, and it might not look like I don't. All I do is post fashion and beauty, but there's a method to my madness. So just when y'all don't think I'm watching, I see everything. I'm a Scorpio, so I internalize it. I take it, and I'm just like, okay, I got you. I got something for you. 317, he released Kodak Black and Lil Wayne to say, hey, I love Black people. And yeah, and then this year, he decided to take a different approach. He released those ugly sneakers because he knows that the majority of people who buy Jordans, not to sound stereotypical, but Black men love sneakers. My brother is a big sneakerhead.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk. My obsession is perfumes. So, but that's a whole nother conversation. But he's just like, okay, let me go ahead and see if I can try to wean. Y'all see the smoke and mirrors that they do? When he put out, sold out, yeah, totally sold out. Kodak Black, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was just, that's a whole nother conversation about what he said as it pertains. Oh, he saved my life. He saved my life. But the same ones who are saving your life that look like us are the same ones that are taking place with the ones that are this color, that are palm color, and the unaliving of Black and brown bodies. Yeah.
You want to hear something funny too? When they charged him and all his cronies in Georgia with the, when he tried to make that phone call to find me the 11,000 votes, all these people got charged. Most of them, pretty much, they were able to pay their bail and be out of there in like an hour. But the one Black guy involved in it,
In,
he had to
in
sit
the
in jail.
insurrection,
Yeah.
and this is why I said it. I said this when with Manny. I said when you play clown games, you win clown prizes.
Yep.
What did you think was gonna happen? You thought you was gonna get a pat on the wrist and some vegan food because one of them said that they wanted some vegan food or something. He
The
couldn't eat the food during
the
the deal,
shaman.
and he wanted to come out and get some vegan food. You thought you was gonna get some vegan food too and some treatment. No, it doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm.
If you got light eyes and white skin, you can get around. But if you, me and Andres, if you look like us, this screen here, baby, they ain't gonna give you that same treatment.
No.
You are still Black to them. No matter what side you try to, if you're on Democrat, Republican, if you are Black and Republican, they are always going to view you as Black first.
Yep.
And if it came down to if you had to choose a bus, they're gonna say, hey, choose this bus or choose this bus. And they say, okay, yeah, you can come in. And then the other bus, they could be like, uh-uh. But it's weird when they use Louis Farrakhan and Al Sharpton to shut Black people up. Uh, man, yeah, they put them out there and they just be like, take this. No, Black people keep speaking up on your trauma. Don't let
Mm-hmm.
anybody silence your experience of what we've endured for over 400 years. And again, it goes back to that whitewashing 317. No, don't talk about it. And then one of them came out and said, I think that slavery was a great time. Families were closer together. What reality are you living in? When was slavery ever great? Being separated, shackled in chains, separated away from your family, sold to the highest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
When was slavery ever great? When was it ever a great time? And this is a Republican politician that said these things.
Yeah,
And
they
who
really believe this
was
stuff.
it? It was
It's not
Don
fantasy.
Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Don Lemon questioned the Black conservative on his panel about this. How do you defend this or justify this? And you're Black too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna get off my soapbox and shift gears here before we close out this conversation, but it needed to be had because this is true. There is racism in the education system. They do not want Black children to exceed or graduate. And even if they're struggling in subjects in school like math, I remember, and I'm gonna tell you guys a little story. When I was going to school, my girlfriend, she was in charge of what we call in-school suspension, and they would have to do their punishment there. They didn't get expelled, couldn't come back to school until certain days, but in school, one of the students there, I was looking and seeing what was going on, uh, asked if he could go get help from the teacher, and she was saying the teacher really didn't want to help him. And of course, the teacher was palm
Mhm.
colored, was not willing to help the black student at all. This happens. It really does. And my girlfriend says, well, she has her picks and chooses. She only wants to help certain people. But there are black kids who she's barely helped. So it happens. It's in the system. It's there.
Absolutely.
And Kanye said that slavery was a choice. When he said that, man, I was like, you wish, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't. Our people suffered from this.
Yep.
We can't make this up. So again, it goes back to that whitewashing, trying to say, no, this didn't happen. Y'all just need to get over it. They'll gaslight you. They'll gaslight you. Disregard your experience. Even in the workplace, if you're black and you encounter a Karen or something, there's going to be some in there that are going to be like, oh, no, you shouldn't have did this. Well,
Hmm.
this is, again, the age of resistance. So black people not about to put up with the BS. We not.
Absolutely.
We not. This is the day and age of accountability and calling people out on their racism, and rightfully so. So yeah, Kanye done went, and yeah, he's far long old, and a lot of people said, well, we want the old Kanye back.
Yeah, all the good stuff he used to do, Gold Digger and all that. Where's that Kanye?
He's far long gone, y'all. He's not coming back.
I don't think it was the same after he lost his mother. I think that really just wrecked him.
And it's heartbreaking because
Yeah.
Dr. Donda was, his mom was a college professor. She was a doctor. And I know she will be turning over to see some of the stuff that he's spewing about people that look like her and look like himself and look like us. So again, we got a lot of work to do. Make sure you guys are staying aware and alert to what is going on. Please do not turn a blind eye. Do not.
Yeah.
This is now the time to speak up. If you see something wrong, say something about it. Even as it pertains to, you guys have asked me, I touched on it briefly last week with the Nickelodeon documentary that is
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
This is age of accountability and exposure. So what's done in the dark will come to the light.
100%.
And I interviewed a Nickelodeon star here on my show, Angelique Bates. And she told her story. She was the first one to tell her story. And you have people that didn't believe her. So this is age of accountability. People are being held to task, and rightfully so. So you can try to pay, you can have a lot of power and money in the world. It's not going to shut me up. There's not a price tag in the world that can shut me up from trauma that I've experienced. No, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to encourage other people to speak out about it too.
Hmm.
So Trump, you can go ahead and do as many hush payments. You can do as many bribes or whatever you want as you want to do. It's not going to stop the truth from coming out. And I guarantee you, it's going to be more and more women. E. Jean Carroll,
Yep. She's gonna get money.
that's a huge lump sum of money she's going to be getting. And this happened way back when.
Yep.
And people again not believing the victims because the victims come forth. This is one of the reasons why, because they are afraid you're going to do that. What I just said, they gaslight your experience.
Right.
Again, accountability, y'all. Wake up, black people. Wake up and see what is going on. They are overturning all policies that are harmful to us as black people. And that's the last thing we need.
Yeah, keep in
And the
mind we're
last
still
thing,
trying to voter suppress black people. We got to
voter
speak up
suppression.
on that.
Yeah. Voter intimidation tactics. They're showing up at the polls. That's another thing that they're doing. Please be careful if you're going out there to vote, because his base, his cult following is dangerous. They are dangerous.
Yeah.
And they will do anything because in their eyes, he's God. He can do no wrong. And someone who thinks like that is very dangerous.
He's Jim Jones.
2.0. Jim Jones 2.0. And
Yes.
we know that he idolized Hitler. So Hitler didn't like gays. He didn't like Jews. He didn't like women. He was dangerous too. So
Hmm.
he idolized dictators.
Yep.
And that what happened on the Capitol, January 6th, that was what I like to call, ladies and gentlemen, total authoritarian totalship.
He
He's
wanted to
gone
be Darth
full
Vader
blown
that day.
total authoritarian. Yeah. And you're just like, how does she know all of this? I read and I do research. I'm always in a book. Well, I don't just serve looks, baby. I'm always in a book. So
And it's all common sense too. You could see it. It's just people want to go into their corners and, oh, I don't like liberals. But really, this is out there. This is not, any other normal guy in a suit and a tie. He wants to be Putin. He wants to be Kim Jong-un. He wants to be, a banana republic leader, not a
oh yeah,
real
and he was
president.
shaking hands with him too.
Yep.
Y'all seen the footage? What's the guy's name? Putin. He was shaking hands with Putin,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a love hate relationship.
Absolutely.
Trump was sleeping with a man in college, allegedly. Yes, allegedly. We don't know, but it's going to be a lot more revelations that are going to be coming out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole lot more. So these next few couple of weeks are going to be very, very interesting to see this case play out. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be long. Knowing him is going to be long and drawn out because, again, like I said, he stormed out the courtroom. They literally had to chase him and bring him back in there. And he got into it with the judge. Like, I can see
Mhm.
that because remember the interview that he did where he was talking about his IQ, and then the faces,
Oh
his
yeah.
eyes shifted. I pay attention to body language. I pay attention to everything. So I said, yeah, I don't think he liked that question too well. Certain questions he does not like
No.
because he feels you're getting too close to the truth or something. So he feels as though, even with some of the black female news reporters, April Ryan, he
Mm.
loved her.
Yeah.
How he
Lovely Brian.
challenged, how when these black female news reporters challenged him, all it takes is a black woman to question you, like, what's going to be the next move? And that's a stupid question. Abby Phillip, your Michelle Sindor,
Mm-hmm. Call him
April
nasty.
Ryan,
Yep.
black women who have been challenging him in the press conferences, the press briefings. And then I'm going to touch briefly on this, the other individual who wants to run for committee man, and Mr. 317 knows exactly who I'm talking about. This individual does not like black women. This individual hates the queer community. This individual also is anti-black. So you're willing to go and visit certain white neighborhoods, but not sit with your people. But when you do sit with your people, it's for a photo op. That's not going to win the vote of the people.
Definitely not.
So again, smoke and mirrors, that's what politicians do. It's like glitz and glamour. Vote for me and I'll do this for you. And I'm going to go back to Joe Biden. Joe Biden handled this pandemic a whole lot better than the way this previous president handled it.
100%.
Because before he told us to go, just take some Clorox and you'll be
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
Drink bleach.
And put a UV ray
Yeah.
light through your. Yeah, that's what he told us to do. Joe Biden had empathy as it pertains to that because so many people out here who were trying to get this thing under control because the numbers kept going up.
Oh.
He did not. So yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
We
We
really
went
do.
way over our interview
It's
time,
okay.
but we're gonna shift a little bit and get into something lighter. Your podcast, Andre,
Mhm.
because I'm pretty sure I've seen you touch on things like this on your
Yeah.
podcast. What is coming up for your podcast?
So coming up, this week we're doing our regular news edition. So we'll talk about the latest movie news, some recent releases that we saw. We also scored an interview with a particular character actor you might have seen in some Richard Pryor movies and a couple of
Okay.
other major films. So I'm not going to say who it is yet, but you'll know the face when you see it. We're working on some other notable guests, including a comedian that is on the rise right now. And yeah, it's going really good. And we just put out an episode. You were just talking about Quiet on Set. We just gave our thoughts on that, and our views on that are climbing. So definitely check that out on YouTube.
And it takes having the difficult conversations like these, like Mr. 317 said in the comments, and someone else said it to me just the other day. It's tough having conversations like this about what's going on as it pertains to quiet on the set and what's going on in the school system and racism and and as it goes to what's going on politically, because you have so many people with so many different views. But we're gonna have the ugly conversations either way, and that's what I've learned. You can't escape it; it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to talk about it because it can affect you. If you're black, this can affect you. So again, we need more platforms like this. So Andre, this is our third interview, and I appreciate having healing conversations like this with someone who just mirrors everything that I'm saying. And some of my guests, the viewers, you guys are too. You just like she's saying everything that we are saying at home. And I watch men in the barbershops have these conversations. Well, no, thank God I don't have to go, into a barbershop anymore. But um, I'm watching this. I watch podcasts and men sit and have conversations like this in a barbershop like environment. Black men. And then it's the same for black women. We go into a hair salon or whatever. Well, I do my own hair. So I have that luxury. If I want to go to a hair salon, I can, or I can do my own hair. But the conversation's everywhere. Everybody's talking about it. Even in the grocery stores, people are talking about it. They see the front page of a magazine or a newspaper. They're talking about it and they're guessing, wondering. And not to mention grocery stores. Yes, the price
Mhm.
of inflation is
Yeah,
crazy, right? It's
it really
bananas.
is.
It's like $5, and you guys know, just like, how does she stay in shape to fit into these dresses? I listen. I believe in moderation. One of my guilty pleasures is a bag of nacho cheese Doritos. A bag of nacho cheese Doritos are about $5. The big party size bag. Yeah.
Wow.
So things have totally went up. It's inflation. This gas prices too. Like it's
Uh-huh.
crazy. So I know people are wondering what is going to be next in life. What is going to be the next move? Pay attention, everybody. You got to pay attention, educate yourself
Yeah.
so you'll be armed with knowledge of what's going on in the world. And
And
I'm
get
going to
involved when
continue
it's
to,
necessary.
yes, and it takes conversations like these because there are people out who are thinking, what is going to be next? How am I going to pay for these groceries? These groceries are so high. All of these things, even college tuitions.
Mm.
If you're trying to send your kids off to school, college tuitions is high. You'd be lucky if they get in on a grant. I remember that too.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was saying that gas was $1.25. Absolutely sure was. See, now it's like $3 and some change.
Yep.
It really went up. I remember one point it was almost $5.
Yeah. Ukraine had that was pretty damn high.
So my advice to everybody is wake up, pay attention to what is going on, your surroundings. You don't have to watch the news every day. If you have to tune out mentally, because I know it can be mentally draining, I'm gonna deliver the news and whatever I can to you on my platform, but I'm gonna do it in a way where it's fun and you learn at the same time.
Hmm.
Because I want people to be engaged. I don't want people to fall asleep like I'm giving a long seminar. Because trust me, I've sat in some seminars and I'm just like, oh yeah, yeah, you're doing good. Trust me. But yes, make sure that you guys are paying attention to what's going on. And this was a healing conversation, and I hope you guys all took something from it and learned from it as well, too, because we have a lot of work to do, as Mr. 317 said in the comments, and others that watched the platform. And before we close out this interview, Andre, you've got your podcast and your project that'll be coming pretty soon. What's next? Because this is not going to be my last time bringing you on. And by the way, you guys, this is 596. This is show 596. We
Wow.
are halfway to our 600th episode, and we should hit it this week. So thank you all so much for your love and your support unconditionally. So, what is next for you in the future?
So actually, I have a music video that I directed called Sleep Until Noon, by my friend Mylan Lazistan. That's going to be playing this Saturday at the Cranford Film Festival around 8:30 block. You can get the tickets at the Cranford Film Festival website. And we're also playing that same video next month at the Philadelphia Independent Film Festival, which is happening May 8th through the 11th. The tickets are available now. We don't have the screening date for that yet, but once we have that, we'll put it on the website. People can follow me at AJEPYX here on Instagram, on Facebook and Twitter, and my website, ajepixproductions.com. We'll have all the updates on dismissal time, my music video, and my next films.
All right, and be sure to check out Andre's podcast as well. Too great, informative. The same information that I'm giving you here, him and the gentleman on his panel will be discussing as well too. But the difference is men. So you guys get to see the male perspective. This one you got to see the male and female perspective. So make sure you guys go and check out Andre's podcast. Great podcast. And where can everyone check it out, Andre?
Yeah, you can check out Unfinished Business Television on YouTube.
All right, fashion dolls, y'all go and check it out. And today's final thought. I know I was going to show y'all the pink Splendor Barbie. I can do that tomorrow. I got so caught up in the moment. This conversation was so good.
Yeah.
But today's final thought comes from our former First Lady, Michelle Obama. And she says this: for me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a mean of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. And the journey doesn't end. So for us Black people, the Black collective, the journey does not stop here. It is just the beginning. And we are going to continue to keep fighting on. Again, resistance. So we are now in the new age of liberation. And people are pressing back and fighting back and saying, hey, we're not going to put up with this. What we put up with during the civil rights movement and the slavery, we're not about to put up with this. Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So again, bring it to the light. If you see someone that is being racially profiled and mistreated, stand up for that person also too. They'll be able to stand up for themselves, but join them and stand up for them too.
Yeah.
And it takes unity. That's what it takes. It's going to take a togetherness. And it starts with us fixing our problems within our own community as well too. Because right now everything is like at a divide. And so many people, so many different beliefs, so many religious backgrounds, so many different things. God didn't want us all to be the same. He wanted us to be different. So that is the final thought of the day, fashion dolls. And that concludes today's show. Today's show will be uploaded to Style by Stevie Daytime on YouTube. And you guys can head on over there and subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be notified when new interviews are uploaded. And we will hit our 600 this week. I am claiming it, speaking it in the universe. Yesterday, I had to do a part one and a part two with Eugene because one live cut off, just like with today, and I had to
Yeah.
start all over again. So, again, my apologies for my tardiness, Andre, and
It's all
everybody,
good.
but FB was trying me. They was not letting me upload the LOTD to my story, so I had to start over, uninstall and install back, and get back in. And we're back, so we're set. Now, joining me tomorrow, we have Deshaun D. Will Spivey. He will be joining me Fresh new face. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow at 4. We have great guests this week, and I will see you guys tomorrow. And Andre, always a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Great seeing you again.
You too. Take care.
All right, take care.